sacrificed my girlfriend, my unborn child, and my family for money ritual. Story time. Hi TikTok, it's your girl Rosie. I am back with another story time. As y'all know, my platform's a platform where I tell you guys stories about witchcraft, tell you guys about the consequences that come with it, but I also highlight the mercy, the grace, and the love of God. Y'all, let me tell you, I'm in Wyoming. When they talk about these winds and the altitude sickness, it's no joke. I have all my windows up, but the winds are just blowing, so I'm sorry. But anyway, story time. We're gonna call this man Neza. What should we call him? Who? Rick. Okay, Rick. So Rick grew up in a family that was super poor. His dad was a carpenter. His mom used to sell tomatoes in the market, and he was so embarrassed at the fact, these winds. He was so embarrassed at the fact that the kids at school laughed at him. You know, he even went to try and ask his mother's brothers, so his uncles, for money before school would start, so he could be able to have, you know, some clothes, some, you know, cool shoes. But his uncles would always make fun of him and tell him if his mother had married somebody that had a little bit of money, that he wouldn't be coming around asking money. So that pissed him off. But anyways, when he reaches to the age of 20, when he gets to the age of 20, he goes to the city and he meets some Sakawa boys. Now, Sakawa boys, for some of y'all that don't know, they're considered like, they're the hustlers, right? Okay, so put the S in the beginning. They're cammers, if you catch my drift. They're the ones that call people, you know, with a storyline of needing money. The ones back home, yeah. So, but they also do a lot of stuff. They're just known as hustlers. They will do whatever they can to make some money. Anyway, so he's in the city. He runs across Sakawa boys, and you know, he looks at them and he's like, wow, you know, these guys have women that are chasing after them. You know, women are lining up. They have money. They have flashy cars. Their homes. Everything looks good. He's like, I want that lifestyle. So he befriends some of the boys, and there's what should we call this friend? It's a boy. Roger. Okay, so he befriends a guy. We're gonna call that guy Roger. And so Roger and him become cool, and he tells his friend Roger, look, I want to be a part of whatever y'all are doing. You know, I know that all y'all need is some internet, you know, some Wi-Fi to be able to, you know, to get some money from some folks. And his friend looks at him, Roger, and says, yeah, you know, we do make money from the internet. He said, but that's not the only thing that's gonna feed you. He's like, you need the spirits to feed you. He's like, all right. So Roger takes him to go see a witch doctor. In the story, he says how he will never even forget the smell of that witch doctor. When he walked in the shrine, he saw. So, like I stated, his friend Roger takes him to a shrine, and his friend lets him know, look, if you want to make a lot of money, you have to let the spirits help to feed you. Anyways, they get to the shrine. He'll never forget the smell of the shrine. And he talks about how when he walked in, he saw buckets and buckets full of black substance, liquid, and some other buckets full of red substance. And also he saw like stuff coming out of off of the roof. It looked like skin. Anyways, the warlock looks at him, and the warlock says, wow, you have a bright star, a bright light on you, but poverty has covered it up. He said, let me help you so you can be able to have a good life. But the warlock also lets him know, but nothing in this world is free. So let me know if you want to get in, basically. And Rick, being very hungry, growing up from a family that's super poor, never having anything, he says, yeah, of course, whatever, I'll do whatever. So the warlock tells him, all right, I need you to give me a piece of your nail. And y'all know I don't like giving details, but I have to in order for the story to make sense. And by the way, y'all, again, I'm sorry. You know, I'm driving. The winds are loud. Some of y'all told me to get a microphone, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it when I get to my location. As y'all know, I travel a lot because of my husband's job as an engineer. Anyways, but, and we should have been flying, but we have an old dog, and the dog can't fly. Our vet was like, he's just too old for it. They'll have to put him out. Anyways, besides the story. Besides that. But anyway, so like I was saying, the warlock asks him for a nail. The warlock asks him for, I think it was a fowler and some other animal. And so they bathe him in that blood of that animal. And they use some leaves or whatever. He says something, and, you know, the warlock's like, all right, you're good to go. He leaves. that night was the first night he was able to make a lot of money from I can't say a lot of things because I don't want my video to be reported. From calling people overseas, calling people in the US, older people, to make his money, basically. Catch my drift. So he was able to make $2,000. That was the first time. But in the story it says that once you become a Sakawa, like once you start making money, that little money, you get hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. Just like the spirits get hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. So, like I was saying, he makes his first $2,000. He's super excited. But at this time, he's still not making the big money like the boys are, right? And he's renting out a room and he wants more money, but he's like, you know what? This is good for now. A couple months down the line, the warlock calls him, right? And he says, hey, he says, the spirit says that you're very greedy, that you've been making decent money and you have yet to come by and share. So they tell him that you need to bring us a dog, a sheep, and I think it was a cow or something. It was 3 animals. And he's like, all right, that's cool. It's just animals. I'll do that. He does exactly that. And right after that, sorry, y'all, right after that is when the big money starts coming. He starts making a lot of money. He doesn't have to work as hard. He doesn't have to hustle as hard, hustle people as hard. It's just coming in. Anyways, a couple months later, like I always tell you guys, the enemy starts off small. Just small. Like, hey, you know, that man, that dude looks good. Why don't you just text him? Texting becomes a call. A call becomes, hey, let's hang out. A hang out becomes, hey, you know, just give me a kiss on the cheek. A cheek becomes, you know what? That's how the enemy starts small. Anyways, a couple months down the line, at this point, he's making decent money. He's bringing in money, you know. The warlock calls him again. He says, hey, he says, look, he says, we see you're making money, you know, and we want to make sure that you're good for life. He says, but the spirits wants to feed on something bigger. You know, they want a more, the way that they explained it was so disgusting, I'm not even going to say it, but more of like, it was more of a tone of like a more sweeter, delicious BLOOD. Anyways, the guy's like, what are you talking about? He's like, we need you to bring us a person, but just not anybody, somebody closer to you, somebody that's related to you. And they tell him, after this, you're not going to have to worry about nothing. You're going to be good, blah, blah, blah. At that point, Neza, we called him what? What was the guy's name? Not his friend, the other one. This is why I hate giving names. Rick. Sorry, I hate giving. That's why I stick to Ashley. I stick to the names I know I can remember. Or Matt. But anyways, the guy in the story, Rick, when he heard the warlock tell him that, he tells the warlock, no, I can't do that. You know, he was like, you know, I'm not that type of person. I won't be able to do it. And that was the first time he regretted ever starting. Anyways, the warlock tells him, you're in. You got in. You know, you made a covenant with us. It's more like we're not asking. We're basically telling you. So, like I stated, the warlock is telling him, I'm not asking you, bud. I am telling you. He says, I'm going to give you a couple of days to think about it and find somebody. It has to be somebody that's close to you, a family member. At that point, Rick is freaking out. He's scared. He doesn't know what to do. Now, pause. Rick's mother had a little sister who passed away. The sister and her husband passed away. So they left their little girl. We're talking about a baby, maybe 5-6 years old. So the mother was taking care of her. So Rick is thinking about who is he going to sacrifice. He's like, all right. He's like, I can't do my mom. I can't do my dad. You know, who else can I do? That's when he talks about how his heart was broken when he did that, but he came up with a decision. You know, he was like, and this is why I say people that do witchcraft are selfish. I don't care if you get mad at me. If you do witchcraft, you're selfish. Witchcraft is only for power, for money. Like you're trying to change things that are to occur. It's just selfish motives. Anyways, it's his life or a family member's life. So he says, all right, I'm going to sacrifice my little cousin. What he decides to do, the little cousin used to go and work with the mother at the little store she owned. And she would come home around evening time. And this time, he waited for her at the house. Mind you, this boy doesn't live with his parents anymore. But he came over. At the time, he knew that his mother wasn't going to be there. Neither was his father. He comes, he tells the little girl, hey, would you like to go get some pizza and ice cream? And he's like, and then after that, I'm going to take you to one of my friend's house, and we're going to play with his kid, and you're going to be able to play. A kid being a kid, being that she knows this boy, this man is his cousin, she's like, yeah, of course, you know, she's excited. He tells her, put your shoes on, let's go. He goes and he takes her to go get her last pizza, her last ice cream. And after that, they start driving far away. When they get to that shrine, the little girl wakes up, and the little girl's like, where are we at? He tells her, oh, we're at my friend's house. The little girl starts freaking out. He's like, oh, well, why does your friend's house look like that? It's a little scary. And they get out the car, and the little girl's holding his cousin's hand. He looks at his cousin. He says, your friend's house is scary. Let's just go back home. And he's like, no, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. He walks. This is where it broke my heart, y'all. It broke my heart. And the mere fact that things like this happen all the time is so disgusting. That's why you need to be so careful with your children. You need to plead the blood of Jesus over your children. Anyways, he walks this little girl to the shrine. Walks her. The warlock grabs her, basically yanks her out of his hand. And he walks out and goes to the car. So I've reached my destination. Okay, so like I was saying, the boy goes in the car, Rick goes to the car, and he's crying. And he can hear the little girl screaming his name. Anyways, when they're done, you can see people dragging the little girl behind the shrine. Anyways, he goes back inside and he's talking to the warlock, kind of going off on the warlock, like, why did you make me do this? Why did you make me do this? The warlock tells him, and this is what scared me. The warlock tells him word for word that the warlock tells him, this is so disgusting, that money is life, and that if I want money that never dries, that I need to exchange it with a life that cries. Did you hear me? If you want money that never dries, he needs to exchange it with a life that cries, tears. Anyways, at this point, the guy's fed up. He's like, you know, I don't want to ever go through this. This is my baby cousin, blah, blah, blah. And the warlock is like, you've done your job. Just check your account. You're going to be making a lot of money. He goes back home. When he gets home, his mother is calling, hey, you know, the little girl's missing, you know, because again, the little girl used to work with the mother during the day, and the shop was a 2-minute, 3-minute walking distance from the house. The mother says she was with me that morning, and I sent her back home in the evening for her to go ahead and take a shower and have some dinner and blah, 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 while I closed up. So the mother, I'm sorry, I'm coming. So the mother tells the son, like, we haven't seen him. We've looked, you know, throughout the whole village. Nobody has seen her, blah, blah, blah. The boy's like, Mom, I don't know what's going on. I will come by and help you look for her. Imagine, you're looking for somebody that you've already sacrificed. How evil is that? Anyways, a couple days later, this man starts making a lot of money. You know, we're talking about like he's finally able to purchase himself a home. He's able to purchase himself, you know, a car. You know, he's able to, you know, purchase his parents a home. He's able to do big things. The same uncles that used to laugh at him are now calling him Big Boss. You know, oh, that's our favorite nephew. Our favorite nephew. Look at you. You know, you came up in the world. Blah blah blah. And he said that it just seemed like every other month he was getting a call from the warlock about how a sacrifice needed to be made. A sacrifice needs to be made. And because of his anger he had towards his uncles, he started sacrificing each of his uncles. He sacrificed a couple of his cousins, and it continued. Until one day he falls in love with this girl. He's madly in love with her, beautiful girl. Because he made it a habit to not be in long relationships because he knew that they wouldn't last. He already knew that, he just knew that he didn't want to get close to somebody and something bad happens. But he falls in love with this girl, and this girl loves him back. They start dating. He tells the girl, he's like, look, he said, I love you. I want to be with you. My only thing is I don't want to have a child. And the girl says, why? What's up, babe?
Can I go check on
I'm sorry, y'all. I got interrupted. Oh, and one major thing I forgot to tell you guys that on his contract, they had told him that they did not want him to ever, ever, ever have a child. And that's part of the reason why marriage wasn't in his cards. He didn't want to get married. He didn't want to deal with none of that. So he falls in love with this girl. He can't help it. And the girl loves him back. And he tells the girl from jump, I don't want to have kids. You know, me and you're cool. You know, let's do what we're doing, but no kids. And a couple times the girl pops up pregnant. But because the girl is young as well, the girl decides, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and take care of this. But eventually they've been together for years to where the girl's like, I don't understand. Your family loves me. You know, you love me. My family loves you. Why can't we just get married and have a baby? I want to give you a child. He keeps insisting, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. The girlfriend's like, what do you mean? You know, you're rich. You know, look at all this stuff you have. You know, how are you not ready for a baby? You can take care of, you're able to take care of your family and a lot of people. How are you not able to take care of one more child? That's when the boy's like, I don't want to have a child. Anywho, a couple months down the line, let me tell you guys, this is why y'all need to stop doing witchcraft. It never stops. It never stops. It never stops. It never stops. Anyways, a couple months down the line, the girlfriend pops up pregnant. And this time, the girlfriend and him are arguing. And at this point, he's still doing the sacrifice. You know, he sacrificed his uncles, you know, mom's side. Started off with his mom's side because they used to mistreat him. Then went to his cousin. Then went to his dad's side. He's like sacrificed all his family. And his mother and father, really the mother doesn't know what the son does. You know, she's asking questions. The mother is like, something's not right. But anyways, she pops up pregnant. When she pops up pregnant, she puts her foot down. She's like, I am not aborting this baby. I'm not taking care of this baby. I'm not going to go to the doctor and have it taken care of. I'm going to keep this baby. And Rick is like, you know what? Maybe because I have done so many sacrifices that the warlock and that these spirits and demons will let me at least keep this baby. Anyways, around 3-4 months pregnant, home dude gets a call, and it's from the warlock. The warlock is angry. He told him, he was like, oh, you disobeyed our orders? You broke your covenant? You know that you're not supposed to have a child. And the guy's like, you know what? I've done everything you've asked me. What am I supposed to tell this lady? She loves me, you know, I want a family, blah, blah, blah. I'm able to take care of her. The warlock's like, I told you, you need to follow the rules. The warlock tells him, because you didn't follow the rules. Sorry, y'all, I just realized that my dog has been in here panting. I'm sorry, you know, I'm keeping him in the bathroom with me while my husband moves stuff in the house that we just moved in. Anyway, so, like I was saying, at this point, the warlock is going off on him. The warlock told him, you broke your covenant, you know, basically, like, at this point, the only way for you to be able to survive, for you not to pay for it with your own blood, with your own blood, he said that you're going to have to make sure that at 7 months, when your girlfriend turns 7, when she's 7 months pregnant, you need to bring her and that baby to see us. He knows exactly what that means. He tells the warlock, no, I'm not going to do that. The warlock tells him, I'm not asking you, bud. I'm telling you. It's either you do that or you're going to pay for it. He had sleepless nights. At this point is when he realized that he wasn't in control. That him signing that contract, wanting to make money, he gave away his own freedom. He has sleepless nights. He doesn't know what to do, you know. The days are going on by. You know, the girlfriend is super excited that they're having a baby. She's going around shopping, you know, buying clothes for her child, not knowing that her and that baby are on the line to be sacrificed. Anyways, one day the girlfriend goes to church with one of her cousins. When she gets to church, a pastor tells the girlfriend, you need to leave that man you're with, or that man's going to end up killing you and this baby. Can I say that word? I don't know. Anyways, the girlfriend, being so in love, she's like, oh, he would never. The girlfriend gets back home, and when she gets back home, she tells Rick what the pastor said. Rick's going off. Rick was like, why would I ever do that to you? I love you. You're my girlfriend. Why would I ever do that to my unborn child?
but the pastor is very persistent. The pastor is calling the girlfriend's cousin, telling the cousin, please, you need to tell her she needs to leave this man, yada, yada, yada. To where the pastor comes to homegirl's house, knocks on the door to let her know that. And that's the day that Rick put his paws on that pastor. Yep, surely did. Put his paws on that pastor. Anywho, the pastor leaves. When he leaves, Rick is going off with a girlfriend. Like, why would you believe a pastor like him? You know how they are here. They're money hungry, blah, 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 blah. He tells his girlfriend, if you ever go there, I'm going to leave you. Go back to that church, I'm going to leave you. So the girlfriend doesn't. So a couple of weeks before the 7-month, and one more thing I forgot to add. Every time, sorry y'all, I'm trying to remember the story that anyways, every time he would tell himself, I'm not doing it. Every time home dude would make the decision, I'm not doing it, something bad would happen. His cars would start dying. His businesses wouldn't fall through. He would be dealing with a lot of problems until he was like, he would start telling himself, all right, I'll do it. Then things would get better. Anyways, the 7-month mark hits. Oh, and one other thing, the pastor had gotten in contact with a cousin, who the cousin got in contact with Rick's mother and told Rick's mother that we need to pray for Rick because Rick is dabbling in dark stuff. Rick's mother calls Rick and tells Rick, how are you making your money? Rick is like, oh, I'm investing, blah, blah, blah. The mother's like, something's not right. Anyways, the 7th mark hits. 7-month mark hits. He tells his girlfriend, hey, we were invited to a gathering, in this village. You need to come. We need, my friend, bought a land, blah, blah, blah. They're hosting. He makes up whatever lie. They drive hours away. The girlfriend is telling this dude how much she loves him, how she's excited about their future, their baby, blah, blah, blah. And as they're driving, the closer they're getting, he feels his heart's breaking. Tears are rolling down his eyes. The girlfriend's like, why are you crying? And it's more so of like I'm just excited about the baby too. They get there. The minute they get there, the girlfriend's kind of confused. Like, what are we doing here? It's like, oh yeah, we got to go inside to get our other friend. They were going to come back. We're going to, he makes up his lie. The minute that they get there, they yank her out of his hand, and she's 7 months pregnant, right? And he sits in his car and he starts wailing and crying, and he can hear his girlfriend screaming his name. After that, he left driving angry, so angry, and he didn't eat, he didn't drink, for a couple of days. He was beside himself, realizing that because of money, he's given away everything, the closest things to him, his own blood. At this point in the story, so the person, I have to find out where, on my For You page, on my YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook, it's always about past, sermons or Christian stories about witchcraft. So I have to remember where I watched a video. I've watched so many videos. I'm going to go on my history and I'm going to tag, I think it was on Facebook. I'm going to tag the creator. I don't know if they have a TikTok. But people write to her to tell these. So like I was saying, I think she's a content creator, or maybe somebody was sharing her video. But I'm going to go to my history and try to find it. Now, people write to her, and when they write to her, they're telling her, asking her basically for help, or what she should do, what they should do. And so the story ends here. He was talking about how after he did that to his girlfriend and his unborn child, that he's been dealing with a lot of demonic torment, really with the mind, Oh, and one other thing, sorry y'all, I kept forgetting. One other thing, after he had done that to his baby cousin, he kept having dreams about that little girl coming to him, telling him, why would you do that to me, big cousin? And so was that little girl's parents. They kept coming to him saying, why would you do that to your cousin? And when he told the warlock that, the warlock was like, you gotta be stronger than that. He's like, you gotta, what's the word he used? you have to, basically, you got to be stronger than your mind. You know, you got to contain that. Like, you know, stop being a scary cat, basically. Anywho, the ending. After he does that to his unborn child and the girlfriend, he becomes super duper wealthy to where he doesn't even have to do much, even make a call to make his money. People are just sending him money, sending him money. He tries to buy a house, another house for his parents. His mother refuses. His mother's like, no. His mother has figured it out because people are starting to look for the girlfriend and the unborn child. And he's telling people, oh, you know, she left, you know, she went to go visit a family member. I haven't seen her. I've been calling her, making all the excuses. Like I was saying, he's making every excuse in the world of where the girlfriend is. People are looking for her. So I think his mother finally figured out that his son is into some stuff because, you know, the pastor had told the mother as well. The mother refused that house. You know, the mother has kept her distance from him. And the reason why he wrote to this lady, he was telling the lady, he was like, tell people that, you know, doing witchcraft for money will only end up leaving you demonically oppressed. You know, you might be richer in the flesh, but in the spirit, and when you close your door at night and go to bed, you're poorer than anything else. He said, I thought that money would solve my problems, but money brought me more problems. You know, he talks about the blood that is on his hand, the you know, the fact that he doesn't sleep anymore because of the things he has done. And even the last thing he said is, even up to now, he's looking for that pastor that told his girlfriend to stay away from him. Maybe the pastor can pray for him and help him. But he wants to go search for her, and people, the pastor's neighbors, people around that, the people that know about the pastor, know the pastor, said the pastor moved, you know, and so he's trying to find help. But that's the story, y'all. Y'all, witchcraft is real. Witchcraft is real. It's real. It's real. And like I've said before, it's always the closest people to you that will do the witchcraft on you because they have more access to you. They know more about you. You know, this man sacrificed his uncles, cousins, you know, girlfriends, girls that he would just sleep with, didn't care about. Then he sacrificed his own girlfriend and unborn child for money. But now he's depressed. He's being demonically tormented by the people he's harmed, including his cousins, his girlfriend, everybody that he's done evil to. They're haunting him in his dreams. And when he calls that warlock for help, the warlock is like, stop being weak-minded. You know, his own mom and dad won't talk to him because they know that he's doing what he's doing. So he's poor. He might be rich in the pockets, but everywhere else is poor. And if he doesn't repent, he has something bigger coming to him. Y'all, that's my story time. I've arrived to my location. I need to unpack. I wanted to share this with you guys. I will try and post tomorrow. And yes, for y'all that keep asking, I will get a microphone sometime this week. But yeah, you have a wonderful one. Oh, and one more thing. Again, I am creating a WhatsApp group for women's devotion. We'll be meeting once a week. We'll be, we'll be talking to each other, praying with each other, for each other, over each other. You know, we can hold each other accountable. We can give each other advice. I'll also be bringing in pastors and prophets, but I want people that are serious, that are not going to waste our time, you know, that are not going to waste my time. I was thinking WhatsApp, but also I thought about maybe Zoom. So when prophecy comes, the prophet can be able to see you face to face. You know, I don't know. I'm gonna figure something out. Since I've made it to my location, I'm gonna unpack and then I'm gonna start working on that group. So if you want to be a part of it, please put me at the bottom of my in my comment section, and then go to my inbox and send me your information so I can add you to the group. Only if you're serious. Only if you're ready to break the cycles in your life. You know, only if you're ready for your life to change for the better. If you are just wanting to do this to hear some stories, don't do it. You can just stay watching my TikTok videos. Because I get so many messages from a lot of you ladies that are dealing with a lot of demonic attacks. Some of it is from your past and a lot of it is from your generations. A lot of it is generational curses. So let's deal with it and let's heal. Heal in God. Heal in Jesus. That's the best healing. Anywho, y'all have a wonderful one. Bye. And one more other thing that I forgot to add, I just remembered it, was that when he was typing to this lady to asking her what he should do, he has a big boil on his back that ever since he stopped talking to the warlock, ever since he's cut contact with the warlock, that boil has gotten so big, and it's gotten so big to where, like, he doesn't know what to do with it. He's gone to the doctors. They don't understand what's wrong with him. They've given him, ointments, antibiotics, creams to fix it, but it just will not be fixed. Like, he's like, I might not be here much longer.